Welcome, everybody. My name is Jared. I'll be your host for today, even though the slide says Jeremy. Jeremy's just out sick today. So I'll be covering for him. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to raise your hand, pop it in the chat or the QA. I have them both open, and I'll be more than happy to demonstrate the question if I can in decisions, or we can have a nice kind of architectural conversation if need be. So populate your questions, get them ready. Go ahead, James. You have a question about CSV output files?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Great. I'm working from home today. We got a big storm coming this way.
I know, I heard.
Yeah. Um, so um, I have a requirement to uh, output a CSV file for input to another system for processing.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to be doing is doing a fetch entities to, there's like three different entities that I need to combine. So I'll be
Uh-huh.
looping through and fetching all the rows that I need because one entity is like the main header one, and then the other one can have multiple lines um, per record and stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
I'm I'm looking to use the list to CSV mapping step. I think that's the best way to do it.
List to CSV.
But the question I have is, or the thing I'm seeing is, I'm just kind of analyzing this and looking what is the best way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't constructed anything yet. I've just like looking at, okay, what's the best way to do this? I have um, But I looked at this list to CSV mapping, and when you view the mapping, the item
Mm-hmm.
mapping editor, it only goes up to 49 fields. And I have a requirement that has like 100 fields.
Mm,
Is there any way to expand that?
not currently. I think there's in our we have some developer tickets to increase the amount of fields
Hmm.
to make it larger. But currently, unfortunately, we don't.
Okay.
What else? What other ways could we do it?
Yeah.
The run report step also can output as a CSV. You can pick the report and just say, "Hey, CSV
Ah,
file,"
the
and
run
that will
report
be
step can do that. Okay.
exactly, and that would be as many um, data fields as you need. You just have to click off all of them, and then you can output that file.
Okay. So what I'm going to be in building this, they have a specific record format that they want the CSV file to be in, each
Okay.
column. And of course, there's columns that we don't have data for. We're just going to have to put like blank or null or whatever into it. So we're going to have to build those fields, those columns in as well.
Okay.
So I just haven't thought that through. So I'm going to have my build a report based on my entity, but I need to include those blank or null or pre-populated default fields in that report as well.
Pre-populated or default fields. What do you mean? Are you talking about the decisions entity framework fields?
No, they're the CSV that's output is going to have like um, default fields in it that aren't on my entity because they're just fields they need. Like
Mm-hmm.
say some field they use, but we don't need it. We don't use it. It's there. It's part of their format. The file has to be in this particular format, but we don't store all the fields. We just store, a lot of
Part of
them.
it.
But there are some of them that are we're just going to default to null. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In the output. So I'm just thinking through how would I build that report with those, if I'm going to export it to CS, so put it out as CSV, how do I make sure that those columns are there that are just default? They're not on the entity itself when I create the report.
Okay, I see. So not on the entity itself.
Yeah. Unless I did
Ah,
create the entity with all the fields they need, which would be extraneous to us because we don't need we don't have all those things. Like they literally have 100 fields that they need to output in this CSV, but
Uh-huh.
we have like 20 of them.
I'm like 20, sure.
Yeah. The rest of them
So,
are just null or we just default a date or something, something along those lines.
mhm. Sure. I'm trying to think on how we could do that. That one seems, if there's fields you don't already have, so you need to add in like the top of the row, like here's the,
Right. Just kind of have them on the report so they get outputted.
and how are you getting the properties? Like, are those properties we can fetch, or are these just like
For the report.
well, not the report ones. That one you get from the entity, right? The 20
Right,
fields.
right,
But I'm thinking about the other 800, not 880, right? That
right,
are
right,
the null ones that
right.
your other
That's
team
I
uses.
guess that's my question is I guess, yeah, how do I include those in the report?
Do you so then that's why I asked my question. I was wondering, do we know what the names of those fields are? Like it's student uploaded loan, or a FAFSA
Yeah, well,
loan,
I
right?
mean, I can make up
Or
a name for them. I can make up a name for them because
oh,
they're
okay.
fields that we're not storing anywhere. They just need to be in the CSV file.
Oh, okay. Then
Yeah, they're just
let's
like fields that I just want to output into the CSV file, but I don't have them on my system. They just need them in that this particular format, so they have to be there.
I see. So if I do, so let's say, this is gonna be fun. I'm trying to think of a way we can do this and that it's performant. Because the difficult, tricky part is just
Yeah, exactly.
those extra fields, and then everything else. Let's look at some of the step catalog. Let's play around with this. All right, so we got some data. Let's go to the Excel and CSV. So we can convert CSV to object. Okay, delete a row, get a row. Isn't there add? Add headers and footers. Nope, that's not what I want. Create a new Excel file. Says delete a row, draw Excel borders for each Excel. That's just for each of the Excel. Get worksheet index, get worksheet name from index. No. Set values in, what is this? Supply default. Update file. Let's play with, what is this? This set value in CSV row, but then you're always gonna have to recount it every time. For the row, I feel like that would not be the best. Set column width. Run flow for CSV. I think it's just the like run flows for list for CSV. No, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to delete this step. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna create a blank worksheet. This is my worksheet. It's gonna say that we have name, we have DOB, we have age, and then I need to add extra fields here, right? So we got this. All right, cool. So we have this. I'm gonna save this as a CS. No, just local. I want to save this as a CSV. CSV, and this is gonna be test CSV header changing, or header adding, excuse me, header
Okay.
adding. And
Uh,
then I actually want to put this on this PC. And we'll do this in the documents folder. Is this in the documents? I think it is. Save. Okay, cool. Save this. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do, so let's say I have that it has data. I did all this stuff. What I want to know, set value in CSV, supply default column. I want to try this step. I think this might be something useful. So if I grab that file, I'm just going to pass this in here. We'll say this is my CSV file of file data. And then what we can do, sure, we'll attach this to the end. I want to say this is for column 4 for D, and I want the default value to be James's added column. And then what is it? The file. Select from flow will be CSV file. And then the file type will be constant CSV. So then on column 4, so on column 4, if I do this right, so let's go here, and then I did test CSV header. Oh, I actually need to, let's actually need to have a form so we can actually see if it works. Because I think that just outputs what? That just outputs. Yeah, it doesn't output anything. Oh wait. How do I know it works? Okay, this is gonna be interesting. We shall see, and I'm just picking, nope. Create a quick form. That's gonna be display CSV test. And then we have a CSV editor control that we can utilize just to see if it actually CSV file, 1,000 rows for page. What is it? First row is header, and then we'll do a button, and this is just done. All right, so then CSV tests. And then we'll hit the save over here, and we'll add this, oops, and we'll add this here. And so now if I run this and grab the CSV file, okay, and we change it, test CSV adding, let's see, does it error out? Did I not get it? Output. There's no output data.
Hmm.
So what's in here? It'll just be the old one, I think. Supply default column, worksheet number is 0. I think that's right. Let's say Jasmine, could we get a doc ticket submitted to understand what this step does? Because I don't. This is interesting. So if I output the file and I say add it to column 4,
Mhm.
then I can't interface with it. Like it's just that this step doesn't make sense to me. Supply default column. It looks like it ran. Let's run it one more
Yeah.
time. And of course that makes sense. Input output. I mean, I can't even check to see if like what the file is. Like I don't even know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know what the thing is. All right, so we're not using this step. I don't know what that one does. Clearly it is not very helpful. So let's go to here. So if I need to add more columns.
I'm wondering, what if I had a template out there of it, and then I just changed the value of that column each time? Would that work?
Change the value of the column each time.
Yeah, I'd have to loop through. I don't know.
Yeah, that's gonna be
I
hard
was
part. I
thinking
feel
if
like
I
it's
had the
uh-huh.
the template out there, or if I had a template out there, and then as I read in my file, I could just change the data in each column as I loop through it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know we could get, if you pass in a type, we can get JSON, get
Mhm.
values. Did not get values. Where's this one? Data, there's JSON. Advanced. Get property names on object, right? So let's say you fetch your specific property. And oh man, let's see, you can get this. So let's say I want to grab this file right here. Just as a, for sake of example, let me go ahead and add this as a unit test because I don't want to keep doing this test. Save. Right, and if I look out here, it will output, hey, you have tag ID and length. So then what I'm thinking is what we can do is we can populate the columns of the report and you can add on whatever extra fields you want on this. And then we can loop through. And then I'm trying to find which one in the Excel CSV. Convert dynamic data rows into CSV. Let's see, it was a delete draw. Get row as an array, get row, where's the column? Insert a row. I think it just inserts a row. What does the output? It does, how do I know? I don't understand how to use any of these steps if they don't output anything. I mean, I get that. Because if it's not changing it. Yeah, because these are weird steps. Output data changes. That's just the comparison result. I would test it out. Let me mess with it. I know there's a way I could do it where if I for each loop get the property names and then add it to a list and then write it on the top of a Excel file. Let me just create a
Right.
simple project and I'll send you an email with that
Okay.
demonstrates it. But
Sure.
yeah, Jasmine, if we could get just to kind of clarify my ask, I don't understand any of these Excel steps because there's no output. And so, or actually this one does, that's funny. But I guess the get ones do. But when I go into any of the, like add worksheet, oh, now it adds the worksheet. Basically the question is why do some of these like the insert row, it doesn't output, it has no output data for the file. So therefore I can't even test to know if it even worked. I think replace rows the same thing. Nope, that one actually has information. That's so weird. The supply default column, like I just need clarification, like why, how can one, the question really is, how does one test to know if these things worked? There's no output to do that. So that's kind of the clarification. Let's see, cool. Peter, do you have any questions? I'll even give you permission to talk just in case if you do. Not today. Perfect. All right, cool. So then I think just for fun, let's try to see if I can build this really quick since we got time. If you have any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm still monitoring it, but I'm gonna just play around with James's question and see if I can learn more about this. 'Cause I know I've done this in the past before with CSV files. It's just been a really long time when I mess with that stuff. I'm actually gonna create a new Excel file. Let's see. New Excel file, and we're going to say, let's do, first I want to get properties on object, and we'll use the file for that. And I'm actually going to create a new Excel. Let's see, create a new Excel file, which is just weird. And then that's a new Excel file. So I actually have, okay. So this actually has information here. Do I have to make it an Excel file? I mean, I guess I could say convert Excel to CSV, but that's a little weird. And then I have the convert CSV file, but let's just mess around with that. I don't think by any means this is going to be the most performant thing, but if I understand how it functions, then I could probably kind of trim the fat on what I need to do. Hello, Mano. Do you have any questions? I'm just kind of going through and testing out some steps for the Excel as CSV. And if you have a question, feel free to ask it. I can redirect to you. If not, then enjoy the show, everybody. Let's see. So I want to do a file name. We'll say this is test. I'll say, yeah, this is test. Sheet name will be just sheet one or sheet one. Let's kind of get that right. And then what I'm going to do is we can, I mean, do I even need it? I guess I could probably do that as a last step, convert it to CSV file. But so I have this step for each Excel row. I don't think that's what I need. I want to add set value. Set value. Let's see, column starts at 1. Okay, okay, we're cooking. Here's something we could do. So then let's say, just for a small test case, let's say I want to loop through these things. Right, and then I go next. Well, I don't need to create the Excel file again. I just need to connect to here. I create the Excel file and then we attach to here. And then what I want to do is I just want to set the value. So if the row is on 0, the row is always going to stay 0. and the columns start at 1, and the worksheet number is 0, and the file type will be Excel. For this case, I don't know which one. We'll say auto select. And the select from flow will be the create new Excel output. And then the new value will be the item that comes from, oh, I didn't map anything into the for each step. So that's why. Get property names on object. All right. So what I'm thinking, so just so you guys, how I know this thing functions is basically I'm looking for an Excel file, right, that has, it's not pipe delimited. I'm just using these as like to see the spacing. Is I'm hoping I can see like ID, file name, what is it, file name, and then what is it, contents, and list all the properties of the decision's file data type on the top line of a sheet. So that's all I'm testing, because my theory is if I can do this, then I can add, cheese or whatever column I want to a list of strings and then write that on the top line to kind of create that custom item, all that stuff. Let's see, but before I do that, Manel has a question. Hello, how do I loop through attachments? Is there a way to do a ascending or descending order on the basis of a checkbox in a repeater? Let's see. You could, if you have certain amount of attachments, you'd have to do it before the data repeater gets to it, because on the data repeater itself, there really is no filter on it. So what I would do is if I would create a flow that before I go, oh, could I show this?
Well,
Yeah.
Jared, I'm sorry, but those are like two separate questions. The first question is just like, how do you like in general loop through like multiple attachments?
Oh, that one is just, it's just for each step, and then it takes in a list of files. So if you have like the get header step, let me see if I can find.
Because we're trying to send the data to another system and they want the data in byte. And
Oh, they
there's
show the
no
data
way.
in bytes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
For
like, oh, so that's
SQL.
different. So, so you have a list of files.
Mm-hmm. So in decisions, I'm using a file reference, but she said like she can get the data if I can loop it through in multiple attachments. That's the only way she can know, okay, how many attachments I got. But she has to convert it into byte on her end. And that's, so I was just wondering, how does that work? Like if I, for example, how would I know like to split them and do a for each loop for the attachments? For example, if the user puts 20 attachments, how do I
Mhm.
loop through each attachment?
It would get like it would get in. How are you getting it? That's what we have to ask that question. Because
From decisions.
so it's from decision, but like, so you're just fetching it.
Oh no, so we have like a multi-upload box, and that's where they put the attachments in.
Oh, then that's just a, okay, yeah, then
Hmm.
that's just for each step into it, right? So if I have this, right, and
Hmm.
I got my multi-file upload,
Yes.
multi-file upload form test, right? And I
Hmm.
get the multi-file,
And I'm using the file reference.
multiple file upload area, and then sure, we can do file reference. Sounds good. We'll do FRs, and then button here. And so now if that's weird how we went there. So now if I upload a certain amount of files, all I have to do is for each them, right? Put a for each and then list of objects. I can go through this list and I can do all data, and it's all file data. And then I just deal with the file data. So inside the file reference, there's a property called all data, which is actually where the file data is stored. And that's what you loop through. And then you're dealing with the actual files that you get.
Okay, gotcha. And there's no way like for us to store the data in byte, right? For attachments?
I mean, you can if you really want to. I mean, so like the file data already comes in bytes, right? So if I go to contents, I have a list of bytes.
Okay.
So if you want, you could loop through it and send your colleague, you would probably have to convert bytes. Let's say convert, I think it's called like bytes to string.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Convert
she
bytes,
has
no,
a
that's not what
short
it
form.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Get string. Like you can get string from bytes, and so I can pass in a list of bytes, and then it would be a list of strings to your colleague. And then on the other end, you just have to convert that string back into a bytes, and then you can rebuild the file on that end.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then the other one, is there a way to do an ascending or descending order on the basis of a checkbox in a data repeater? So there's no clean way to do that. I've actually had building a project that for a customer that we use as a training material. And what I've built in here is I've built a, let me make sure that this is, we're not doing this one. We'll do this one. I think I have this here. Is right. I have two types of purchase requests, right? It's kind of like purchase request enhanced. So I have two types of requests. I have a software, I have a general. Right, and notice I can't really sort them in here. If I create an active form flow that like says like I click on a checkbox and it says sort the order based on like alphabetized or reverse alphabetized, so that software's first, then you can do that. But any of that stuff would have to happen like before it goes into the form or in
Gotcha.
an active form flow. Yeah, there's no like sorting
Mhm.
function on the repeater itself.
Got it. So for me, it's like I have a data repeater and I have a checkbox, right, which has an active. So they
Hmm.
just put in a record, and what my business users are trying to get is like if as long as the checkbox is active, it's like selected, they just want to see those records always on the top. So there could be 20 records, but if
Hmm.
any of them has a active checkbox selected, they would want that to be on the top. So it's easier for them to not miss it. And I've
Yeah.
been trying to figure it out if there's any easier, simpler way to do that.
So all you have to do is just add so I have the same thing. So I have a list of requests, and I can say the list of ones that are approved or not approved, that come in, right? And
Mhm.
so what I can do here is I can say, hey, I want to select that list of requests that come in, and then on the bottom part I can select which field I want to sort by, and I could say, hey, I
Um,
want to sort by I think I have an approved Boolean on it, approved, and I want this one to be ascending, right? So that's what you'd have to do is you'd have to use like a sort array step,
mhm.
change the type to be your type, and then you can say, okay, I want the approved ones or in your case, active ones at the top. And so I think that would be I think that would be a reverse, a descending sort. I'd have to test that out on Booleans because I'm not sure which one's the top, which one's the bottom. But that's how you do it. When it before it goes into the other step, add a sort
Mhm.
array and then pass out the sort array um, variable into your approval step or your next step after that.
Gotcha. Quick question about the sort array. How would it know like, hey, this one is selected? Because the only ones that are selected needs to be on the top. Because I know it doesn't. So you said the approve was the Boolean, but you know how
Hmm.
usually we get a checkbox that, hey, this one is selected? Like, how would the sort array know that, hey, only put the ones that are checked on the top?
Well, so that's the part that I don't know. You'd have to test it out. Like basically, I'm not sure how decisions classifies the Boolean, whether it's alphabetized, like false becomes before T. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you do ascending, it's actually going to be the unchecked ones because it's false, right? And that's
Okay.
gonna be the top. Or is it the other way where it's like what's true? So true is just at the top because that's the positive outcome. That's the part I don't know. You'd have to build a short test to see that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a simple switch. You can just click on here and say I want descending instead of
Okay, okay.
ascending. So you can change that order for whatever it is.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I was expecting it to, you know how like you can build the rules, and sometimes when you in our outputs, it gives you a little box. It's like, hey, you want to add the buttons, then you do a select. So it's just a little different with the ascending and descending. I got it. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate your help.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank
All right. So let's go back in. I think I was here. Flow. So feel free to ask any other questions, guys. I'm just gonna keep uh, playing around with this get headers flow. Because I think I got it. So the new value is going to be the item, and then the column starts at 1. Okay, so I'm going to add. I don't want to add double, just add. Is there no add step? All right, let's go to the data numbers. There we go. I want to add, and on the index, I will always have to add select from flow index, and then constant 1. And then does this output something? This doesn't output anything. So I just created a new Excel file. So that means if it's done, I should be able to see this file. Oh, in this part, let me convert it. And then I can see this. Oh, I gotta do this type. I think it's called sheet one. What did I name this one? Yeah, it's called sheet one. And then the type, I think it will set it auto selects. Skip blank lines will be the false, and the input will be the convert new Excel file here. And we'll do this. And then I believe we should be good, if that makes sense. So I have file name test. So I create the file, then boom, it goes through here. Then if I go through here, that file, the column starts at the add output step. So that's where it's going to start, and we shall see if it actually displays it. I don't think I need anything. Oh, I do. I do. I forgot because that's expecting it. Okay, so this errored. So that looks right. So it looks like it might have done it. What's the error here? Please select the appropriate file. Okay, so just didn't like that I didn't put the thing. I just didn't like that I have auto select. I think, well, let me debug this again. I think it had, what was the type of file and outputted? It outputted, okay, XLS, got it. Okay, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, instead of auto select, I'm gonna say this is XLX. And then we'll convert this into a CSV, and then let's see if it runs it. But I don't have that file. Does it pass it in? So we have, look at this. Okay, so we added that twice. I'm very confused now. All right, so I added this input. We skip blank lines, worksheet name. And then the output of this is this. And then the input data, that's not even the same file. I think I have a mapping issue. I do have a mapping issue. I'm not grabbing this thing. This is why you always check your mappings, folks. 8 times out of 10, it's a mapping issue. So now if I see this, all right, so now I did this. Now let's see. So I'm getting this file. Am I not converting this? Convert CSV. Oh, that's why. I got the wrong step. Silly me. Convert let me read the steps. That also helps. Convert Excel. I thought there was the other one. Convert CSV to convert. This is the one I wanted. It's always the little things that get you. All right. So, hey, Giovanni, I'm just messing around working on something, but if you have a question, feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask. Let's select from flow, create new Excel file. The type will be XLX. And sure. And convert Excel to CSV. Let me switch this, convert Excel to CSV, and I believe this should give us some result. Okay, it did not. But it seems like it's doing stuff. Worksheet number. So it's running, but do I not have the worksheet number here?
I think you spelled it differently.
Did I spell it differently?
Oh, I don't know if you need it before you had, what did you call it there?
This one's just create Excel file, auto select. I'm adding the input there on the column. I think, and then over here, XLX, convert.
Okay, you don't need to, okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. Let's try one more time. Okay, so this one didn't like it. Why didn't you not like it? Can I see why? Let's see. Must be a non-negative less than the size of the collection. Less than the size of it. So I guess 0 is the correct number, but it came out with a null. Okay, so that seems like that's fine. Because in that one, it's outside of it. It's just not displaying. So let's see, let's make sure that this data is accurate. Did I lose any data? So the length went smaller, which I believe is expected. So if I columns expected, I think that's why. 10 columns expected. There's a bunch of moving parts here, so it could be one of the. Okay, I actually don't think it's this then. What I want to do is I want to download this file. The file download. Download file. Let's make this a button so I can see it. Okay, cool. So now I want to grab that convert Excel and let's download and see this file. Because maybe it just can't read it for some reason. Okay, yeah, that was weird. There we go, it worked. So I got all that stuff on the first row. So that means, so if I do this, so now let's say, what is this one? Join, this is just get properties. I'm gonna create like join string, no, create data. I'm gonna make it bigger, I just wanna see create data. Over here, and this one we're gonna make a list of strings, and this is gonna be more strings, right? And what this is gonna say is, this is gonna say field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, right? And then what we'll do here is I'm actually gonna say that this is a join arrays. And this is gonna take in the properties of the property names on object and the more strings. And I just wanna see that get added onto it. Because then that's half the battle, I think, right? Okay, cool. So we got that. So now we've figured out how to map it on
Nice.
the thing.
Mhm.
The second half is now we have to figure out how to correspond it to the piece of data. I
Basically
think.
merge file entity data with those constants that you just created in that.
Exactly.
And it
Yeah.
has to be like intermixed because it's not going to be like all the data fields and then all the constants. It's going to be intermixed
Yeah.
in between there.
Exactly. So then that begs the question: we got to figure out what the.
That's why I was hoping I could use that list mapping because I could, map the fields that are there and then just put constants in the ones that aren't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then we could do it the other way. I'm trying to think. My brain's like thinking in a Cartesian coordinate where it's like moving right and then moving down. Because that's how you got to think with spreadsheets. So we got that part. Yeah. So let's do a little further on it. Okay, cool. So we got that to work, which that's fascinating. So now if we get all the properties. Okay. So if I have the data here, and I can say, I wonder, could you do it from a JSON data pair perspective? If we get the JSON data pair, you loop through the different data pairs, that could give you, and all you have to do is check to see if the value is empty or not. that might be the way to do it. I think, hold on. I don't know if that made any sense. So here's the thing, what I was trying to point out is I'm actually gonna move this, create this as a subflow, create subflow, and this is gonna be the create Excel header subflow. I just want to test this out. Okay, cool. So now we got the subflow where all that's been created. What I want to know now is I want to know if I can do it from a JSON data pairs perspective. So right, we get properties on object, get properties. Where is it? I think it's like data pair. Object properties to data pairs. And I'm gonna grab, select from flow this thing right here. Sure, we'll say deep flow and why not? And let's just run this. I think I need this. Oh, that's dumb. It's already in the data pair perspective. That's funny. So that's why output stat is just. I thought I was gonna output for. Oh no! It just converted it. I see, because now it's a list of data pairs. Okay, cool. So that's why you see it that way. So it's a list of data pairs, and then what I can do. Here's the cookie. Okay. Here's what we're doing. Is then I can correlate that with the extra fields that I have. What can you say add? I can create a logical. That would work. That would work. I'd have to build. I'd have to build from the, because here's what we can do. Here we go. Create Excel file. All right, here we go. Create Excel, right? We're gonna create a new Excel file, right? Okay, cool. We're here. Right. So this is gonna be on sheet 1, right? This is gonna be a new test. New test right here. And then what we can do is now what I can do is I can say yes. Okay. The only problem. Wait. Because then you get to a point where you go throughout all of them. Hold on. Let me build this out. Because I'm kind of getting lost in my head.
I do
All
that
right.
all
So
the time.
exactly. Sometimes it's like, all right, let's just build out and let's just see what
Mhm.
happens. And then I can, okay, each item's a data pair. Perfect. So now what I can do is if I attach to here on the done path and we do, what was that step that I used before? Set value. So we do the set value step. Set values. Okay, cool. So you can do the, okay, so you can do, okay, so you could do this way. Because
Oh,
if, so you can
you can
set
set a
values.
value in a row.
Yeah, I can set a value in a row, or I can set values
How does it
in a,
know what column you want to set the value? What
yeah, set values in column.
column?
You can say list of
Oh,
new
okay.
values. Trying to parse that and then set values in a row. So what you could do is, this is how I'm thinking. It's basically like you run through the first row, you set the values in the row will be the object properties, like all the data pair names of whatever the data pairs you have. And then you can check to see if the first, have a rule that says check to see if the first row has headers. If it does, then all you do is, go down the second row, populate data, second row, another data, because you're grabbing it based on the data pair values, which should be the same at that point. That's how my brain's thinking. I have to test it out to confirm. Because I'm thinking before each here, I'm gonna use the original one I have. What is it? Is this a list of strings? I think it gives you a list of strings, right? That's it in a row. I want to do set value data. Nope, that's not it. Set. Okay, let me go back here. Data, Excel, and we do a set value over here. And then we're going to do it all the same way. Input file data is going to be the new Excel file. The column, yes, we'll need an add step because we need a. Offset by 1 because of the
Yeah.
iterator. So we'll offset by 1. But the problem is the row starts at 0. That's gonna be a fun one.
Right.
Let's see. Okay, so we got that 0, got it 1. Okay, so now what we can do is if I can do based on the data pair perspective, is I set the value. So this is going to be an XLX. Worksheet number is going to be 0. The row is going to start item index plus 1. Item index plus 1. And so I've got the data pairs. So then what I can do is you set the value. Okay, so then you just have to wait, so that's not bad if it offsets it. Wait, so I set the value. I would have to have 2 of these steps, I think. Because the new value, okay, so the column name, the column starts at 1, so that's the select from flow you add from output. And in this case, then the row starts at 0. So in this case, I presume this would be the index. This is gonna be funny. I actually don't think this is gonna work, but this would be a pretty funny thing. Is because if I want to go, wait, let's go back to this one. I don't think I populated anything in that one. No, okay, so it's at 0. Okay, so I just left it a constant, right? Because we're not moving it. Okay, that makes sense. We're not moving it. So this is all gonna be the top part. So that's why that stays the same. Yeah, that's gonna descend in a stair-like manner. So we don't want the row to change just yet. Set value here. Because I think the new value is gonna be the item. Yeah, we know that. It's gonna be the item, but it's gonna be the name of it because we're dealing with the data pair perspective. And then what I'm thinking is you have to count the length of it. How many do you have? So you could do this. My brain's thinking it's gonna be a little bit of a worksheet column row, worksheet number 0, column. So it's gonna start by that. And then when I run, I can get value. Let me get value from the Excel. Get value from the Excel. Get value. I just want to get value. Yeah. I just want to get value. So if we get a value, and let's say, let's just test this part out. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to test this part out. I want to see if this thing works. So we create the same process we get before, but we're doing it from the data pair perspective. So that's going to help us get the actual value and the name, so we know where to place it. And then what I want to know is at column 0, I think file type's just going to be Excel at this point. Ignore the first row. The input file is going to be the new Excel CSV file. The row is also going to be 0. And the worksheet number is going to be 0. And the column, I think it starts off at 1, right? It has to. Which one's the one of those? This row starts at 0, column starts at 1. Okay, so I just want to grab the column value of 1. All right, let's see what happens with this thing. Just run this. Okay, what does it get? Contents, boom. Okay, cool. So, and I believe, did we pass it in here? Okay, we didn't pass anything here. Let's just convert. download file. I just want to grab the create new Excel file because I know that that's accurate, but what I want to know is like, where is it in the order? Okay, cool. So I got the first one. Contents is actually the first one. So it's alphabetized. Okay, cool. So contents is actually the first one in it. And so then if you know you have a value in the first part, now we can go to increment it and go through that way. How much data are you going to be processing through this? That's the next question.
How much, what do you mean per row?
Yeah, like are you gonna have like 10,000 row spreadsheet, 100,000 row spreadsheet?
No, they won't be that big.
Okay,
They'll only be like, one will be a header row, and then there'll be like maybe a handful of child rows for one child and a handful for another child. And each
okay,
column one designates whether it's the header or one of the children.
gotcha. Okay, so it's not gonna have too many because I would say the only thing that I'm concerned about is just the what do you call it? Um what is it? Like his performance. So if you're running this like a lot of times, then it might not be the most performant thing. Uh, what is the output of this? Okay, so it outputs nothing. Okay, so if there's nothing, it outputs nothing. So that's how it behaves. And so if I go down here, get value, so I could probably be able to see if this is empty. And so I can say, like you can have it is empty. Get value is empty. And if it's true, then we go down this path. And if it's false, then what we do, because that's going to be the name, and then the false, I think I'm really close. I really want to test this out because I think I'm really close to this. So I can just check to see if this, where's the get value output? If this is empty, which at this point it will, oh wait, I did it wrong. So if it's false, no. Yeah, if it's true, it is that way. And if it's false, then what we do is we don't need to mess, well, you do need to mess with column. So you're getting rows of the data. No, this is not gonna be as, I thought I had it. I feel like I'm pretty close. Too, is because I can get the values, I go to the next value. And then I can, so then I would just do it run one time. At a list of files. Then you can just get the object in the data pair. Do it that way, and then the second time you do the value. So I think I have this a little bit out of order.
Can you explain to me a little bit what the data pair, object property data pair, what is that step? I've never used it before. What is that exactly doing?
Yeah. So are you familiar with JSON data pairs?
Not really. I haven't worked with JSON that much. But
Okay, cool. Then sweet. Then I can explain it. So essentially, what it is every time, you create composite types, right? Let me just debug this.
Mhm.
We run this, boom. And so if I know that's gonna error out. That's fine. And so what we have here is you have the output object right here, right? Which
Right,
just this shows you the file, right? It's got contents, it's got all that stuff.
right.
So that's the object. And what I'm doing is I'm breaking down that object into its individual data pairs. So for example, where's my annotation tool? Annotate. So basically a data pair is this is the name and this is its value.
Right,
And so that's all a data pair is.
right.
It's just saying this first part's the name and this other part's the value. So why am I utilizing it this way? The reason why I'm utilizing it this way is notice that when I pass this in through to it, it takes in the object, which is the file, but outputs it in its 4 data pairs, right?
Okay,
So I can interface it on the data pair level and say, okay, for the first iteration of these data pairs, I just want to pass all the names and make them all the headers, right? You with me so far?
okay, yeah,
And then that's where my second part of my logic, I'm going to say, okay, if we have data in the first row as the title, then what I want you to do is go to the second row and just grab the values of all the data pairs. and whatever it is, just put in that in that row, whether it's a what do you call it? Blank value or some value will just get put in there. And so
Right.
that's kind of how my brain's thinking about. I loop through it once. Second time I have data in here, move the row
Okay.
down, put all the values in, go to the next one. Okay, loop down, go to that one, and so it allows me to just access it on a more granular level than on the entire object.
Okay. Okay. So
So
that is that data pair taking in a JSON object then?
it could
What is it? What's that data pair based on right there?
any
It's that
object.
file. Okay, any
Yeah,
object. So
I could pass it. Yeah, I could fetch entities, fetch your object, and put it
right.
there, right?
But my entities, if I did a fetch entities there to get the actual data, it wouldn't have all the default data along with it. So I'd have to build that into it somehow. Do I create like a JSON or another entity to hold the data plus the default values
Right.
and
So
map it that way?
yeah. So what this would do is, remember, this gives you a list of output data files, or data pairs rather, right? So then what you could do with the data pairs is I could say, hey, I want to go into data pair, and I want to create a string data pair, and then I can add that extra data pair to my output of this list.
Okay.
And
But
so then
it's going to
I'm
be
building that.
intermixed though.
It's
It's
going
not
to be
going to be like
intermixed.
one list and then another list as far as when it gets output.
Well, yeah, that you'll be combining those lists together. I'm not sure what the sorting would be. You can sort the array to say, hey, I want stuff with values to be at the top, or alphabetize them, right?
Yeah,
Utilizing the sort array,
it needs
and
to
that
be in
could help
this,
you.
because what they do is they give us like a template of the spreadsheet, what it's got to look like. And
Mhm,
like, say column 1 is a field we'll use,
mhm.
and 2 might not be, and then 3 might be, and then 4 might not be, and 5 and 6, and then 7 might be. So it's based on the format of that spreadsheet template that they give us.
Oh, okay. That makes it easier
So
then.
it's not like
Yeah.
concurrent all my fields and then all the default. It's like they're just in there. I will know ahead of time what column has our data and which doesn't, but I do have to somehow build that out.
That makes it easier, because then all you have to do is get the data pairs, and then you can use this get value step to say, hey, get the value that's in column 2, right? And then if I did this after the fact, right? So that's actually an easier setup than what I was thinking you had to do, right? And then I run this. Oh, I need to skip. Let me skip this. Right, and then this should give me the next one, which is outputs. I didn't look at outputs. File name, right? So
Right.
then what you can do is the data pair, you could say, hey, then get me the JSON data pair value that has this, right? And if
Right.
it's null, it'll be null. Or if it's your field, then it gets you your field. So that
Okay.
actually makes it easier, because then all you have to do is whenever you run on the first part, you just say, hey, set it individually and loop through it, or you might be able to utilize the set values in column, and tie it here, and then put it on the list of string of the new values. And so that actually makes it easier.
Okay. Okay.
So
Cool.
cool. Awesome. All right,
I
guys, it's
appreciate
one.
it, Jared.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll if you want, I can send you this the export of this
Sure,
project
that'd
if you
help
want
because I was gonna just go back and look at it and try to recreate what you did anyway. So
to. Gotcha. Yeah, I'll just export it right now just so you have it.
cool. All right, man.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Take it
Take
easy.
care.